Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another amazing match here at the Overwatch Cavalry Club Scrims, where tonight we have Eclipse versus AYAYA going on in the Blackwatch division. I'm Captain Jack, your play-by-play, joined by the hella with the yella on the color. It's Zella. How you doing tonight, Zella?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. How are you today? I hope you're having a little bit of a better day than I am, apparently. Because I'm apparently not in a good mood because our teams are trolling the hell out of us.
Our teams are trolling a little bit tonight, but maybe they're just a little excited. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Thank you so much for sticking with us as we were able to get everything set up. Looking at the current season standings right now, it looks like we have Eclipse currently in the number 1 spot at 4-1, and the inverse, AYAYA, currently in the last spot with 1-4. With a huge map differential between the two, +11 versus -9. So if AYAYA wants to turn this around, I mean, no night is better than tonight, and I mean there are only 3 teams, so I mean it's not like there isn't you have a chance to learn, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. So let's go ahead and see if they can do it and introduce our teams for the evening. Coming in for Team Eclipse on their starting roster, we've got Bagel Guy and Brimos coming in on the tanks, Stealth RTG and Sinatra on the DPS, and Pika and I Like Koalas coming in on the heals. For AYAYA, we got Miss and Bass Boosted coming in on the tank. Xerox and Mighty Peon coming in on the DPS, and Obi-Wan and Dank Monkey. Dank actually trying out for Team AYAYA this evening, so coming in on the heels. So definitely should be a very interesting lineup for the evening. Our first map of the night is going to be to good old trusty Nepal. So go ahead and get your snow boots ready and get ready for some super hardcore meditating, folks, because I am ready to see how the Diamonds play it out here on Nepal.
Yeah, we're actually gonna get up on the readies here.
And while we're doing that, you know what you all should be doing? You should be hitting that heart button at the top of your screen. Should be punching that bell so you get notified every time we're online. And if you're monetarily available, be sure to hit that sub button. $4.99 or Twitch Prime or Amazon Prime subscription will give you access to some hella cool emotes and support our amazing community. So if we are ready, Oh, wah, wah. I'd like to remind everyone that we are playing from our homes, so DCs are
Hey,
completely plausible.
at least it happened before everything happened.
I
Like, before the
agree.
games
Before
actually
we started, I do appreciate that. Thank
At
you
least
so
it
much
was
for
that. There, we got
doing
Bagel
it
Guy back
there.
in here. Or not Bagel Guy, sorry, Dank Monkey. There we go.
All right. If the teams are ready to go, let's get this show on the road. Looking in the chat, it seems casual in the chat saying the only good thing about not being able to play is that I don't have to watch myself getting killed in the intro videos anymore.
That's
All
true.
right. I guess that is something that would happen if you're not on a team, then you can't be in the kill feed, I suppose.
That is very hard.
Miss Catatonics in the chat saying Link's disease here to say let's go, dude. I don't know who I'm cheering for yet. Both teams rock.
I don't know about both teams right there.
Hey, I agree with Miss Catatonics here. I think that both teams definitely have the ability to, despite the fact that both teams are at different rankings in the season right now. Obviously, AYAYA has taken away one match, so they know how to win. The question is, have they been paying enough attention to Eclipse to know how to beat them? Is what it's going to end up coming down to. So our first map, we're headed to Sanctuary, I believe. I always forget what this one is. I always forget that. And then now with Busan Sanctuary, I question myself. I'm like, am I thinking that it's just Busan Sanctuary and just applying the name? Because there's no other like overlapping names.
There is Sanctuary. There is
Sanctum and Village. I know the other two. It's always this one. I forget.
Yeah, this one is either Sanctum or Sanctuary, and I'm pretty sure this is Sanctuary.
I always call this one Spin to Win because that's literally all you can do on this map, and if you don't, then you're not having fun. And that's exactly what we're gonna see here from the Bagel Guy coming out on that Hammond with Brimos on the Rhine. Very interesting comps on either side, but that double shield meta really showing up for the side of AYAYA. The question is, will it be strong enough for them to use? We see the tackle come in, but Bagel Guy slamming in the backline ends up taking down Obi-Wan as Brimos takes down base boosted. AYAYA is following up on Mighty Peon after the Immortality Field goes down. And like a set of dominoes, they are already stacked and fallen as we go ahead and see Eclipse take an early lead and objective capture.
The thing is, we saw Bagel Guy come through and just completely melt, take that first pick off, especially as a tank. That's super important. When we look at it here, Bagel Guy's already like almost up to his ult. He's at 67%, now 68, and that's just so much value on the minefield.
Well, look at Brimos already has the Shatter online after that fight. As well as Koala's almost coming up on the Amp Matrix, so it's definitely, ooh, base boosted, already getting the pick onto Bagel Guy very early in that fight with the help of Mist. Oh, and there comes the fat Shatter. Ends up getting two, but the Immortality Field's going to keep each team up as Sinatra ends up getting that pick on Mighty Peon just before that. Slam going down to the back line from Bagel Guy, trying to finish up that pick as Stealth, able to take down base boosted as Obi-Wan and Xerox falling slowly after that as the Amp Matrix goes ahead and doles out that extra little bit of damage. Koalas will take down their counter. Dank Monkey to follow that up with 60% on the board for Eclipse.
I believe that's considered the mirror, not their counter, but we see Pika already up to that 97% mark on the Lucio, as well as the dragons coming out from Sinatra, who's actually Sass, and Bagel Guy's got the minefield as well, so we're going to get a lot of value, and this is going to be a big ultimate fight here.
All right, we see the minefield and the dragon strike both coming out. Immortality Field ends up going down, so Obi-Wan can get picked by the dragons, and the rest is just history. Like there, Sinatra like a bat out of hell, just taking heads and names right there. Brick in the chat letting us know that this is actually called Shrine.
No,
this is not called Sanctuary.
It's
so
an
thank
S
you
name,
so much.
so I'm just gonna
See,
call it
now I know I'm not crazy because I could have swore somebody's told me that before, that it was Sanctuary, and I'm like, I'm not sure if that's right. but the Blizzard and Shatter come out to counter each other. Now a fat one coming down from Primos along with the Blossom that gets followed up on by Stealth. Ends up taking down Mighty Peon before they're able to gather and pop their own. 99% overtime ticking away right now as Mist just spinning and winning on the objective, but Primos gonna end up taking them out with the help of AYAYA, grabbing the objective for a win, 100-0 here on Nepal.
I mean, you could definitely see what the strengths were here. Eclipse coming out with a Bagel guy on the hamster and just kind of taking as much point control as they can and taking a lot of dominance there. That definitely, kind of showed the competencies of both teams here. They weren't able to really get a lot of point presence on with a double shield, at least AYAYA wasn't. And that's kind of what became their downfall.
And I think we might see something a little different here, although it's interesting that Bagel Guy is continuing to run the Hammond. I've heard of this strategy being used before, but on Village, it just seems so awkward. Like, of course, it's like a real big, like the ultimate is great usage, like very small area, very big minefield. Like, it makes a lot of sense, but other than that, it's always been very weird to me how a Hammond can work so effectively within a small area like that. But Sinatra already getting the first pick onto Xerox right there. It really looks like it's coming down to the headshots that we're getting for both Sinatra and Koalas for Team Eclipse right there as they already take control of the objective, but they're still continuing to fight their way against AYAYA. Sinatra able to pick off Mighty Peon, trying to make their way into the back line as we see base boosted tackle out AYAYA Koalas. Pika and Sinatra will trade picks as well as we see Bagel Guy coming back into the fight, ends up picking off Dank Monkey on the Zenyatta as Xerox able to trade for Pika, but goes ahead and backs up to regroup with the team. 25% in climbing for the side of Eclipse.
So, believe it or not, the actual reason that a Hammond works, especially here on Village, like, even though it looks a lot of super awkward because of the fact that there aren't any like major places to spin around, there's still a lot of really good grapple points that people can hit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it can actually work more than people think.
Understandable. Some of these ultimates incredibly questionable, though. Bagel Guy ends up popping the minefield off the objective. Dragon Strike now coming in from Sinatra doesn't end up getting a pick as the Shatter coming in from base boosted ends up allowing them to at least take the objective in their favor, which is a little surprising. But now we're going to see the Blizzard come out from Xerox, seeing if they can clear up the fight. Bongo's also coming out from Mist. A lot of ultimates coming out here, but now the Blossom coming out from Stealth, looking to see if they can take it back. Will be successful with the help of Primos and Bagel Guy, and that will be an objective recaptured very quickly. 20% for the side of AYAYA, 60% in climbing for Eclipse.
Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. At least 8 Qs were pressed that fight.
It was the battle of the Qs, and unfortunately, more Qs does not mean more success.
What do you mean?
For this fight? I mean, I saw Shatter, Blizzard, Transcendence, and Bongos from one team, and they only held the point for a little bit and only got 1 kill. So, gotta be careful on that. Minefield already getting popped out, though, by Bagel Guy, looking to see if they can get those picks, but the Immortality Field gonna keep everything up as base boosted, getting that Fire Strike kill onto AYAYA. That may be exactly what they need to make their way in there, if at all possible. It looks like they've grabbed it in overtime as they go ahead and force the rest of Eclipse for a regroup. 25% in climbing for the side of AYAYA.
So something that I've kind of noticed, especially about AYAYA, is that they're really struggling on their ultimate tempo. It seems like they've been, they're given all of these ultimates to work with. Like right now, they have 5 that are coming up in their pocket, and as our coach likes to say, they're just yeeting the board. Like they're playing chess and they know they're gonna lose, so they just yeet the board off the table.
Well, it looks like that's what's going on now. Oh, the Blossom comes out in the back line, gets the triple as the Imp Matrix gets completely unused at that point, was used more like a forcing tactic to move in, but all it did was end up creating space for Mighty Peon to end up getting in that back line, 65% and climbing for AYAYA.
That was actually a really solid play coming out of Mighty Peon. He just kind of like snuck up from behind and was just like, hey, by the way, I'm here.
Yeah,
Like Eclipse just kind of ignored the Reaper. They weren't really keeping tabs on him, which kind of sucked for them in the long run.
and I now think we're going to see that stagger happening now with the ultimates, or at least I hope so. Minefield Ore going down on the objective of stealth, and Bagel Guy end up getting picks right there. But the Blizzard does come out, unfortunately, a little bit too late. If it would have been able to clean up if it would have been used immediately to clean up the minefield, they probably would have been in a better position. But with overtime ticking away and with both teams at the same percentage, nobody's going to be able to touch. And Eclipse will take away the victory here on Paul, making it 1-0 in our fight tonight against AYAYA.
So on the big plus side here, we didn't really see a lot of big shiners here, so that kind of that made it able for us at least to just kind of focus on what the entire team is doing as a whole. But I mean, it was really solid plays coming out of everyone. Ooh, that was a nasty flick from Sass.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's something that we're also seeing here, is that we're seeing a differences in skill almost between the DPS players, whereas Stealth and Mighty Peon are really focused on that, taking down the tanks as much as possible with the big damage from the Reaper. Sinatra and Xerox are almost opposite in a way. Sinatra really relies on those headshot picks that we saw in that play of the game right there, whereas Xerox is using the Mei more as kind of a way to control the ground around them, being able to use the Cryoblaster along with the Blizzard just to be able to keep people in position so the rest of the team can help take them out. And that can be great if you make sure that all your angles are covered and Sinatra isn't getting picks on your heads. But that was not happening. So
there's no picks whatsoever.
And that's really what it ended up coming down to for a majority of those fights, is that despite the fact that they were using the double shield, we know how much every single shield except for Winston's has been nerfed in the recent past. So with the return of kind of this sniper composition, being able to use those skills to easily get past barriers and stuff like that, it's just going to make it a lot harder for them to be, I guess, as aggressive with the double shield composition. Rather, if you were on the defense, on something other than control, like we're getting ready to head to with Volskaya, it may provide you more of an advantage, I guess, in that point, because then Sinatra really has to work to kind of get around those shields, or at least take those shields down.
Yeah, the defense on Volskaya is probably going to be what we're looking at the most. Hold up one second here.
No worries, you take care of that. But yes, I agree with you. Volskaya is always an interesting defense because it really kind of depends on how teams want to set up. I know personally, I always like to hold choke unless we're running kind of a bunker strat, and then we use the Bastion Symmetra to be able to teleport across the high grounds to be able to control the objective from the high ground, and then have the Diva to be able to transport from the high ground to the low ground to continue to contest point. But teams use a variety of different strategies, some even holding the bunker itself, the one that's on the map, just sitting on top of it or inside of it, and using that to their advantage in order to shut down anything that could even remotely come close to touching the objective. So it's really going to come down to if AYAYA wants to use this double barrier kind of maneuver, what it's going to look like when it comes to a map like Volskaya that has a very awkward kind of choke point, and very a various amount of ways that the first objective can be held, because we know first objective is always the hardest to hold on these kind of maps. And it looks like we're ready.
Objectives is always hard to hold. Like in general, unless your team knows what they're doing on the defense, it's really difficult to either A, get the ball rolling on attack, or B, get the ball rolling on defense, because you know you have those little intermittent breaks between the team coming back from spawn to fight and the like the actual fight itself. There's such that little delay that it's kind of hard to get your momentum going, especially on defense.
No, I completely agree with you there, and especially with the change and how things are reset with the first point capture, it makes it a lot easier to set up on that defense and to kind of go all out. That's why sometimes in comp matches you might see people continuing to run for the objective, even though they know that it's going to be either close to captured or possibly captured by the time they get there, because they know that there's going to be that very quick reset right after the point is captured for them to be able to regroup with their team. It allows the defense to be, I wouldn't say like a lot less strategic, but just be able to be more aggressive on the defense for point one, knowing that they will still most of the time successfully hold point two, at least during the first fight.
That's true. You know, when we come in and we look at the instant respawns that comes in after of offense takes the first point, that can actually be used strategically to their advantage, because they can already be set up by the time, you know, the offense tries to get to point two.
Exactly. And interesting enough, we see some an interesting setup going on here. We had a swap in Eggers for Mighty on the side of Eclipse, and going to get quickly picked off there by Mighty Peon as they make their way into the objective. We see Pika coming out on the Genji with Stealth now taking up the Hanzo for their team, whereas Mighty now is on the Hanzo looking to see if they can get those picks. Mist will end up taking down AYAYA Wallace, so both healers already down for this team, and like a set of dominoes, Eclipse is going to fall similar to how we saw on Control as base boosted ends up taking down Pika. That's going to be a grab of first objective with 6 minutes on the clock to take objective 2.
I think the big issue here is that, you know, and I know this is going to sound super goldish, right? But they're running Genji into a double shield Mei Hanzo comp here. Like, he's just not getting a lot of value with his basic shurikens and his blade. Like, he picks off one, usually.
Yep. Nope, I completely agree with you there. And it's not even just the double shield with this meta. You still have Baptiste with the Immortality field. You have Zenyatta with the Transcendence. Like, there's
there's just so many things that can just cuck your
head. There's a lot of stuff. As we're seeing right there, they were successfully still able to hold the defense despite Pika getting picked off so early in that fight. But even still, like, there is a lot, like, Pika is working against a lot of stuff. So my hope is that Eclipse has planned for all this, essentially, and is really going to be focusing down that Immortality, going to be focusing down the shields, you know, trying to make sure that Dank Monkey is taken out of the fight as quickly as possible when that Transcendence is online. Like, there's a lot working against them, but teamwork can prevail.
Teamwork can definitely prevail, so long as you guys are just kind of, you know, making sure you're playing to your team's strengths. It's going to be a lot easier.
Interesting setup of the Dragons and the Immortality field to try to combat.
So he actually got pulled, and that's why his Dragon.
Oh, okay. I missed that part, but we're gonna see the Blizzard end up coming out for Xerox. Dank Monkey and Base and Mighty end up getting picks on the objectives. Xerox will fall. Pika there at the end coming in on that Mei. Another Genji counter right now. As we see, Brimo's coming in now on the ball. Berkey also swapped in for Eclipse. Gonna end up swapping over to the Monkey to try to get back in quickly. And we're gonna see that spin to win come out, but the Bongo's holding up everything right now. As we see a Mighty Peon and Obi-Wan end up taking the tanks out of the fight already. One tick already on the objective, 3 minutes, 45 seconds on the clock as we see Pika making their way back in, but gets rocked real quickly by Base. Mighty Peon following up on Mighty Peon following up very quickly there onto Eggers as well, but the continued trade on the objective is continuing it to go, keeping it from getting that second tick. Pika in the backline ends up getting double, triple with the blade, looking to get that final one on the Xerox. Well, it will end up being unsuccessful. The Blizzard ends up coming down, saving the day. Probably, honestly, wasn't needed there at the end, but just for an extra flair and absolute certainty that it would go down. 64.8% on the objective captured here for point 2 with 3 minutes on the clock.
And Eclipse is just doing a massive reset here. They put 4 of their ultimates back to 0%, just in between here, because we saw so many of them back up and switch to different heroes.
Well, I think that there was good reason for that.
Oh,
That blade worked really well in the fact that the fight had gone on so long. They weren't exactly paying attention to Pika, but they're like, yeah, maybe we should do something a little different, because that's not going to be the common. Oh! But the Hulk comes out into the Blizzard to hold everybody together, ends up getting the double onto Primos and Berkey, looking to get that second tick on the objective, will end up being successful. Dragon Strike separating out the team, not getting damage, but nobody can touch the objective without going through them. We're going to see the Rabbinic Flux end up taking him out. Sigma 9 as base boosted gets the triple, miss falling up on Eggers and capturing the objective with 2 minutes, 8 seconds on the clock.
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised to see how much of the time bank got drained, because we started
6 minutes
with 6 minutes on the clock. So they managed to hold for 4 minutes right there. I mean, even if you weren't, like, even if you did get the point, that's still a really solid accomplishment for the defense.
No, I completely agree with you there. One of the hugest things about that is the fact that they ended up winning out the drawn out fight that was going on, and that's the hardest part about being on the attack for areas such as assault. Going into second objective, you know that the spawn advantage is going to the defense, so without getting those picks very quickly, and as we saw, the defense did end up moving over to very more dive-ish characters to be able to get quickly back to the objective. That ended up really shutting down their ability to get those picks as quickly as they were needing to be able to solidify capture of objective B. But now, as we saw them swap back over to more of that defensive comp, like, again, you have to determine, like, do I have time to get back to the objective, or do I need to swap out again? And then, again, you go into the whole, like, loss of ultimates and things like that, and it's crazy.
Something that, you kind of want to take into account is you can't have all stall characters. You want to have those people who can deal out that burst damage while the enemy, while the rest of the team is stalling, because otherwise, nothing's going to die.
Pretty much. You just be dancing on the objective. Yeah. Be like, what is it? I'm probably dating myself here, but like Jim Carrey and The Mask, while the mafia is trying to shoot him with a Tommy gun, and he's just like moving all over the place. It's like, that's great, but they're still shooting you with a Tommy gun, so I'm not for certain what you're hoping to do here. As we already see Eclipse making their way into the objective, it looks like they've already got the immortality field down thanks to Pika. Looks like they're going to continue to hold on to this, though, as Obi-Wan ends up falling to an arrow between the eyes. Immortality going up right now, ends up getting taken down by Mist. It's a 5v6 on the objective right now, as Pika on the high ground, trying to get those picks in the backline, will be successful. Base boosted, Xerox and Mist all falling to the arrows and hammer of Brimos and Pika as they go ahead and clear up the objective, just a little shy of what we saw AYAYA do, but will be just as successful as they go ahead and add another 3 minutes to their time bank, giving them 5 minutes, 45 seconds to take objective Bravo.
And something that we see here, right? We see Stealth over on that Widow here, and now we are seeing Mighty Peon swap over to that hit scan to deal with her. But depending on how well Stealth, is at working with those hit scans that are out on the field, we might not even see much of a change.
I agree with you, other than the fact that Widow is not Egyptian, because Stealth is on Farah. There we go.
Wait,
yeah, you said that Stealth was on Widow. So
I thought I said Mighty Peon on Widow. Sorry.
No,
my bad.
That's all right. But we are going to see Mighty pick off Stealth very quickly, and we're going to see that quick swap right over to the May, which is going to work out well for objective number 2. Missup ends up getting a pick there on Eggers as they go ahead and push the rest of Eclipse back to spawn, with both Mighty Peon and Obi-Wan trying to get that pick on Brimos before they were able to retreat back with that tackle. They are going to end up getting regrouped. 4 minutes, 35 seconds on the clock.
That was a really solid regroup. It was a one fight, one and done kind of fight. They wasted about a minute on it. So depending on how these fights are, going, we might see 2 to 3 more fights going on here, depending.
But it's not going to keep going well if Mighty Peon keeps getting those first picks. And that's exactly what's going to be a time waster right there. They used the wall to end up separating out the team so that they could retreat a little bit. But if you're looking at ult economy right now, AYAYA has all the Qs.
AYAYA is set and ready to yeet the board.
And the yeet has begun as Mighty Peon ends up popping out the sights, trying to make sure that everybody on the team is right exactly where they're supposed to be. Dragon Strike leading in along with the Gravitic Flux to trade. Transcendencies get popped as now we're going to see the Bongos come out from Mist with the Amp Matrix to turn it. Shatter and Blizzard trade out. It is a battle of the Qs going on in the Blackwatch division, but Base Boosted is going to end up coming out on top with that double kill. They're going to push just about everybody back except for Pika, who is the only one left on the objective right now, going to quickly get picked by an Icicle straight to the face by Xerox. That's going to be 3 minutes, 10 seconds on the clock, and another regroup for Eclipse.
That was also either 8 or 9 Qs.
Yep.
One of the two. That's insane. Why are y'all eating the board? It's hard to cast.
Well, it's not so much that it's hard to cast. It's just, they're countering the counters. Like, when a Blizzard goes down, you want to Shatter to keep them from trying to get in your space. When the Dragons come out, you want to make sure that Transcendence is there to suck up the damage. And now we're going to see the Bongos come out from Berkey, and we do have Amp Matrix up for Obi-Wan to be able to do those heals or that damage to be able to hold up the team, and it looks like those Bongos are just going to get rested out right there. Not able to get that damage that was needed. Mighty Peon and Xerix are going to end up picking off the main tanks, Berkey and Brimos. Stealth's going to fall soon after that to Xerox, and that is going to be it for that push. Despite the fact that Xerox fell to Koalas, they will end up going for that hard reset, and now end up falling below the time bank of AYAYA.
They have one big issue and many small issues here. The big issue, they're letting Mighty Peon walk all over them, and they have 2 shields.
Mm-hmm. Kind of similar to what we saw last match.
Yeah, with Sass.
Yeah.
So with all that's going on here, I'm not sure if swapping Sassafras, aka Sinatra, out was the smart pick here.
Maybe not, but they have traded blows already with the Amp Matrix coming out. They're just kind of wearing it out at this point. Here comes the Amp Matrix and the Blizzards to come out like a crazy devilish Venn diagram right here. Shatter comes down but ends up getting absorbed by the shield, not being able to get past that. We do see the Fire Strike pick off Dank Monkey, but Mighty Peon is lighting up the kill feed right now with the triple. Base boosted, taking down Primos for the final, and that will be a minute left on the clock. Eclipse essentially has one last chance to take this objective as Eggers, once on the Lucio, now swapping over to the Zenyatta for this final fight.
Wait, we're swapping over to Zenyatta?
Or back to Lucio, or...
Wait, no, because Eggers was on Zenyatta, wasn't he?
No, he was on Lucio for the fight before that. Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure
he was. Maybe he swapped back before he came out of spawn. That's what I saw earlier. But nevertheless, the Gravitic Flux and Bongos end up coming out, and base boosted. Mighty Peon already getting picks on the objective. Only 15 seconds remaining on the clock as Stealth able to get that pick on the Dank Monkey, so the Transcendence is not readily available. Stealth able to pick off Mighty Peon as well, but Xerox is going to trade for Stealth as they go ahead and make their way into the objective. Primos had to swap over to that Hammond to try to be able to touch, but the Holt's going to be there. And that's it. AYAYA going to walk away with their first win of the evening here on Volskaya Industries, tying up the series 1-1 here in the Blackwatch division.
Is someone saying map 5 maybe?
Maybe.
Regardless, right? So I've been seeing this a lot, especially from AYAYA lately. They're really strong on point maps. You know, the 2CP and the control maps. And, you know, most teams, at least from what I've noticed, have some sort of signature, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
You know, either whether it be, you know, those escort maps, those point maps. So I don't know exactly if why was this person not? That's big dumb. Sorry, talking to myself here.
I figured as much because we weren't following you.
Yeah, no, sorry. But so maybe we're just seeing AYAYA play their signature tonight. Regardless, though, it's time for halftime.
I completely agree with you there. Will AYAYA end up taking the lead after the half as we head into our hybrid map next? Or will Eclipse be able to block out the son of AYAYA and go ahead and take the lead back from them after the half? We'll find out. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes with more Overwatch Cavalry Club Scrim action. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Overwatch Cavalry Club Scrims. I'm Captain Jack with Zella on the color, bringing back the Blackwatch Division match this evening between Eclipse and AYAYA, currently tied 1-1 as we head into the third map, Eichenwald, for this evening. Zella, you want to give us a quick recap of what we saw in the first half?
So in the first half, we saw Nepal and we saw Eichenwald, right? And Eclipse
Nope.
came home with a pretty.
We saw Nepal and Volskaya.
Sorry. Yes, Nepal and Volskaya.
I got you, buddy.
Yes, thank you. Regardless, right? So we saw two super solid, point-defining maps. I'm trying to think of how to explain it. When we look at it here, well, AYAYA came, or not AYAYA, sorry, Eclipse came home really strong, came out really strong, and took the first point 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
And then Volskaya comes around, and AYAYA takes it 2-1. So I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but it's definitely going to be an interesting game.
Well, there's definitely a lot of things that we have to talk about. So for Eclipse, going into what we saw on Nepal, like Sinatra was just popping heads, like all over the place. Sinatra, like a paparazzi trying to get those good pictures for the tabloids. That was Sinatra popping heads like all over the place, despite the fact that AYAYA was running double shield on Nepal. It was just the way that things were kind of going down. AYAYA wasn't dealing with Sinatra, and that ended up being what allowed Eclipse to win the game. We ended up seeing some swaps on the side of Eclipse, not to say that those swaps would have made much of a difference, but with AYAYA being, it seemed like the stronger team for our assault map, we ended up seeing a complete 5-minute 45-second hold on Volskaya Industries' second point from the side of AYAYA, because despite the fact that Eclipse was trying to push in, it really seemed like AYAYA was kind of the one initiating every fight that we ended up seeing go down, which is not what you want to see when you're the ones on attack. Like, you should be the ones initiating that fight before the defense even thinks about trying to start something with you. Like, that's not the way that should end up going down.
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing is when you're on defense, you want to be dictating the pace of the fight. When you're on attack, you want to be dictating the pace of the fight. So basically, it's whoever presses W first and more aggressively.
I would say it's almost like that. I would say that definitely on attack you want to set the pace of the fight, but for the defense you want to set the position of the fight.
Yeah,
you want to decide where that
and the engagement.
Yeah, where that ends up happening, and many of the times AYAYA was initiating that either right on the objective or way before we ended up seeing Eclipse get to the objective, because many of the times we ended up seeing Mighty Peon getting pick after pick after pick very, very early.
Just
before they even came through the choke, or right as they were coming through the choke, that ended up wasting time because they had to wait for the regroup, because a 5v6 fight very rarely is won for the 5 side.
I believe if you start a fight 5v6, you're 85% likely to lose that fight if you're the man down. It's some probability like that. I can't remember exactly what it is.
I was about to say, I don't know if you just made that up off the top of your head, but it sounds pretty logical.
I remember reading it somewhere, and I can't remember exactly what it is. But I know it's either somewhere in it's in the 70 to 90 range.
And so then
I just kind of went with the middle.
No, I mean that's pretty typical, and I'd even say we saw the same thing during the Battle of the Qs when it was about the 3-minute mark, and just about everybody had their ultimate online, and again, it ended up being Eclipse throwing ults to counter what AYAYA was putting out, and that's not what you want to be doing. You want AYAYA, if they're on the defense, to be countering what you're putting out on the attack. And so because again and again we ended up seeing AYAYA initiate every single fight that we saw go down, Eclipse was not able to take second point. Now we're seeing Sinatra come back in, as well as Bagel Guy, on the DPS and tank. And I don't know if maybe Bagel guys typically they're like the one calling the shots. I'm not for certain who their shot caller is, but if that's not happening with Bagel guy not there and somebody else taking that role, then maybe somebody needs a little bit more practice. I'm just saying. I'm not for certain what their comms are like, but
someone has to be calling the shots.
Yeah, there was a visible difference between what we saw during the first match and during the second match. We know there were some swaps. I'm not saying that anyone was bad because these are all Diamond players, so nobody's bad. They're definitely all better than I am. But
I mean, they're definitely hey, they're definitely better than me. They're 2 ranks above me.
Oh. But
solid 1,000 SR above me, easily.
Well, there was definitely something different. So I really hope that we end up seeing it turn around again. If AYAYA's bread and butter is on control point style maps, this is their last opportunity for them to be able to do so right here on Eichenwald during our hybrid map. And looking at what's coming out for the defense, I would say that I'm typically disturbed, but based on what we saw in control, I'm not. So I still think it's interesting, the Hammond Reinhardt. Typically on a map like this, you want to use an Orisa because the shield resets a lot quicker. But I guess with the tall buildings and you've got Bagel Guy going into the backline over and over again, might be good. But Sinatra not coming out on the Hanzo this time around. So what do you think about that?
I genuinely have no clue. Like I'm so used to seeing Sinatra playing that Hanzo, you know, because we all see him as Sass, right? So
yep.
it's definitely weird not seeing him on his main role.
It definitely will be interesting to see how it goes down. The slam Ore going into the backline from Bagel Guy, but the immortality field will keep everyone out for now. Brimos ends up getting the tackle onto base boosted. As they make their way into the objective, Anti-Nate ends up coming out from Koalas, getting 2 as Bagel Guy able to boop. Lyrule coming in for main tank now for the side of AYAYA. Right off the side, Sinatra and Brimos just trading shots. Sinatra showing that just because I'm not playing a sniper doesn't mean I won't snipe your forehead. Getting that triple kill right there.
Well, the
3 minutes,
thing
5
is
seconds on the clock.
No fall off damage as May. It's probably one of, in my opinion, the worst ideas that Blizzard had. I mean, seeing an icicle that would obviously, like, if it was running through the air, I'm pretty sure that icicle would melt.
Ooh, that wall ends up being the support as Mighty Peon able to pick off Pika early. Shatter onto the payload, gets the triple as the Blizzard ends up coming out from Sinatra to clean it up. Dragon Strike coming out from Mighty Peon, ends up picking off Bagel Guy, but Stealth taking down Mighty Peon with that Storm Arrow. Primos with the quad, cleaning up that Blizzard, and that is going to be another hold for Objective 1. 2 minutes, 22 seconds on the clock.
I'm not quite sure who exactly is calling the shots on Eclipse, but there, as you were saying earlier, there's definitely a noticeable difference here.
I completely agree with you there. Bagel Guy is coming on to the minefield as well as Stealth with that Dragon Strike, and Ore Brimos is almost ready with another Shatter online. The minefield comes out, but is a little too late. Unfortunately, doesn't end up getting to anything, just ends up blocking their escape if they ended up going back. We see the slam come in from Bagel Guys. Both Sinatra and Koalas end up falling right there. Base boosted, taking out Sinatra in that final minutes. Spin to win coming out right now from Bagel Guy, but I gotta say, despite being a really good Hammond player, not seeing a lot of hops. You gotta hop with the spin to win. It makes you just a little bit more unpredictable. I do it all the time. Like I used to do just the basic spin to win. You just spin around the payload over and over again. But like you gotta jump. It causes hogs to miss their hooks. It causes Xerox to get that little bit less freeze on you as you're spinning around. Like it just provides that little bit more advantage.
Little bit more of an advantage.
Just a little bit more. Just a little
actually, to my knowledge, Bagel doesn't play Hammond all that often, so I'm not sure if he quite knows that.
Well, then why the heck is he playing Hammond tonight?
I don't know, man. I was seeing him talking match chat saying he doesn't play Hammond all that often.
Oh! Shatter and Dragon Strike trade out right there. End up getting multiple kills for either side. Mighty Peon coming out on top, though, with that triple kill as they go ahead and clear up the remaining. Obi-Wan will take down Brimos as stealth falls to Lyrule, and that is going to be the payload moving quickly forward. 2 minutes, 45 seconds on the clock.
I wouldn't exactly say it's moving quickly. There was one person on the cart for a while.
Well, I mean, there are 3 people on the cart right now.
Well, now. But there was only one person on the cart for a while.
Why you gotta judge my speedness? Why you gotta judge that, fam?
Hey man. If it's going at 1, that ain't fast.
Oh, base boosted, getting frozen just before the shatter comes down. Blizzard coming out from Xerox, trying to save the day, allows Dank to get a boop, but Xerox ends up getting booped as well by Pika. Trades coming out on the objective right now. The only one left around is Lyrule, and they're going to end up falling here shortly without the support of their team. That's going to be a hard reset. 1 minute, 55 seconds on the clock.
Don't worry, they got this. Honestly, like I just want to see, like I've been seeing a lot of solid play coming out of Bagel Guy. I just like we've seen a little bit from Brimos, but like I want to see Koala's fragging out. Dude usually frags all the time, and like I haven't been seeing that from him today.
The anti-nades have been few and far between. I will agree with that. There was one there on the first objective, ended up being pretty big. But Amp Matrix and Bongos coming out, ends up taking down Koalas and Brimos right there. But almost unnecessarily, I personally believe. Bagel Guy and Sinatra both pop in the Minefield, and Blizzard only ends up getting 1 pick in the end. Bagel Guy currently sitting on the objective as that Hammond, as Pika ends up getting picked off by Mighty Peon. Shatter coming down once again, but the only one left on the objective to fight is now a Nanode Brimos, and will take control with a strength and fervor of 1,000 German engineering men, and take control of that objective as Xerox ends up falling there at the end from Sinatra. Only 30 seconds remaining on the clock.
A Nanode Brimos takes no prisoners.
I think any Nanode Rhine takes no prisoners at that point. Unless the devil comes out to play, and they just weren't there that time. Xerox is going to get that first pick onto Pika, but Dank will fall equally to Stealth as they make their way into the objective for the final push. 2 meters left remaining as Xerox and Brimos both trade kills on the objective. Shatter ends up taking Brimos out of the fight. The only one left on the objective is Pika, but ends up getting punched out by Xerox on that Doom. They're going to grab objective number 2 and add 1.5 minutes to take objective number 3.
Only 1.5 minutes?
Only 1.5 minutes.
Dude, only 1.5 minutes.
Only 1.5 minutes.
Honestly, Streets phase is usually the hardest to deal with, at least from what I've found out. It's either you get it super easily, or you just don't.
That is what it ends up coming down to, and especially with us being more indoors now, works really well for Xerox. Not so much for Bagel Guy, unfortunately. As the Meteor Strike coming in takes Pika out. Minefield will come down on the objective, but with a base boosted on that Rhine, going to be able to clear up some of it. Dank ends up falling to Bagel Guy as Stealth takes down Xerox. Dragon Strike now coming in on the objective. Gets quickly avoided by Obi-Wan as they take out Brimos in the air. Bongo's now being popped by Lyrule as they work their way into the final resting point of objective 3 with 20 seconds remaining on the clock. Bagel Guy going in the spin to win, ends up getting stunned out by Xerox though as they work their way into the objective. Shatter coming down from Brimos, but is going to be held up despite the anti-nade coming in right there. Mighty Peon able to take down Bagel Guy. We're now going to see, or we're going to still see Sinatra on that May. Shatter coming down, ends up going straight into a pile of rubble as they get halted over by Lyrule. Xerox able to get that uppercut onto Stealth as they continue to fight for control. Overtime now ticking away with only 4 meters left on the clock. It's really going to come down to the battle of the Qs as a Nano ends up coming out on Bremos, trying to hold everything together, ends up getting taken down by Xerox as well as AYAYA. Base boosted, getting the fire strike onto Sinatra as Xerox, a man on a mission right now as that Doomfist getting the triple right there with Mighty and base boosted following up on those kills. They will grab objective number 3 despite having no time left on the clock.
That is definitely going to be a big detriment here as they continue on, because if Eclipse manages to take it with over a minute left, it's almost GG's. I'm not going to say it is GG's, but it's almost GG's.
I agree. And
when you look at it, they only got 1 tick that they have to get.
It can be that, but the question is, will their defense be just as deadly as their offense? Is the question that's coming down. Because despite the fact that we saw everyone swap over to similar roles and similar people that we saw on Control, not seeing so much success this time around. And I don't know when that win came out for AYAYA. So if AYAYA's most recent match had that victory, then maybe they're changing things around. Maybe they're, practicing more, communicating better, watching VODs of the other teams that are playing here in OCCS, really getting an idea of what they need to be fighting against. If it's not a recent win, then, maybe Eclipse is having a hard time tonight. So I'm definitely interested to see how things are going to go down tonight. And as I said in the chat, Showdown Shane, you can quote me on that 1,000 German engineering men. You can quote me on that.
1,000 German men.
1,000 German engineering men.
Oh, engineering men.
Yes, engineering men. Because you know how he says, like, what is it, like pristine German engineering? Precision German engineering. So it's got to be 1,000 German engineering men. But now we're going to see the Diva come out for Bagel Guy this time around. Bremos able to get that pick onto Dank Monkey very early with Bagel Guy, following up on Lyrule with the Rockets. It's a 4v6 right now on the objective, make that 3v6 as Sinatra now swapping over to the Hanzo role for this attack. Ends up getting the double. Pika and AYAYA following up kills soon after onto Obi-Wan and base boosted. And that's going to be an objective alpha capture, giving them 5 minutes and 40 seconds to push into objective Bravo.
And that's something that we're seeing here, is we're seeing a lot of aggression coming out from Bremos, and that's really useful, especially on payload maps. But what is he doing on the payload? Bremos, you mad lad!
I mean, that's what I typically do as Ryan. Until the payload moves past the gates, there's really not a lot of fight to be had, to be honest with you. Like, you're going to be waiting on those gates to open, so...
But no, why would you do that and just, like, task one of your healers to do it?
I don't know. I just don't see the reason to fight past the gate until the payload is. Just the way I see it.
I mean, you're
anyways,
still in space.
True, but they end up getting picked off early, but thank goodness the spawn's right there. Sinatra taking out Xerox with the Storm Arrow, but we are going to see Mighty Peon coming out on that Widow, incredibly deadly. Ant Matrix is coming out for either side right now as they try to hold on to the objective for dear life at this corner. Transcendence getting popped out after the Ant Matrix, trying to hold everything together despite the fact that there really isn't anyone on the objective to get picked. Dragon Strike coming out right now, ends up getting 2 there for Sinatra. Shatter coming down, trying to clear the objective, is base boosted, very low on health, ends up getting picked off after the kill onto Stealth, as Bremos able to take down Xerox with a well-designed fire strike. And now we're seeing the battle of the snipers, both Mighty Peon and Sinatra fighting it out from high ground to low ground. As we see Bagel Guy diving in, it's like the fight hasn't even stopped. It's just a continued stagger going on right now. Sinatra gets in that backline, gets the double, but Mighty Peon trading for a triple, quadruple kill. As Brimos get that fire strike onto Xerox, Pika able to take down Mighty Peon and almost grab the objective. So close.
If he had managed to snag it, that would have been definitely interesting.
So close, yet so far away. But they end up holding the objective right there. 3 minutes, 15 seconds on the clock.
All right, we got this. They got this. I believe in them. They got 3 minutes left on the clock. They just need Brimos to go in, press W, press M1, and just win the fight.
One could hope, but I think...
Unleash the Brimos!
Yeah, but I think what we're seeing come out here is exactly what... Is exactly what we should be seeing from AYAYA, and that's punishing said aggression. Because Brimos can be aggressive, but if Bagel Guy is diving in the backline, as which a Diva should be doing, or at least trying to take care of damage, there's nobody there to help protect Brimos. Except for the healers that are trying to mitigate all the damage that they're taking. So...
Who really knows here?
I mean, I've watched a lot of Overwatch over the almost 2 years I've been casting, as well as having a gold order, no offense. But, so I feel like I might know a thing or two about this game at this point. If I don't, then I really should just hang this all up and just call it a day.
Well, Jack, the issue is that you still are a plat.
Well, no, I'm a plat for several other reasons other than that I don't know the game. whether my personal skill or the skill of the random teammates that I team up with are able to give me the success that we might be seeing tonight can definitely vary. I will say it that way. After that,
the reason you are in your rank is because of you.
Sure. Let's put it that way. Base boosted, able to get the tackle onto Brimos despite the blizzard going down. That allows Mighty Peon to go ahead and get some shots in with the shatter, followed up by base boosted. Nobody there to protect from that shatter, and the whole team are just going to get picks in this entire fight. One ultimate, probably not even needed to be completely honest, but will, just for safety's sake, clean up the rest of the team. 2 minutes, 10 seconds on the clock.
All right, they got a couple, like probably 1 or 2 decent pushes here. That's pretty much all I have to say. Well, 1 or 2 like decent pushes.
Ooh.
But with base right there just taking out the Hanzo, there might be some issues.
I agree, but did you notice another chain? Bagel Guy now coming in on the Sigma.
Ooh.
So I feel like this is going to be interesting because what they might be depending on is the Sigma 9. And now we're going to see the Dragons end up separating out the team. The Holt was not able to allow Brimos to stay in that Dragons long enough to do damage. Oh, and we're going to see Base Boosted just find themselves right off the edge of the map. Ant Matrix as well as Transcendence going to try to hold everyone together as Pika in that backline trying to see if they can get a boop off the side. Xerox and Sinatra trading blows as Bagel Guy and AYAYA Wallace take down Dank Monkey and Lyrule and Xerox. That's going to be objective 2 capture. 2 minutes, 30 seconds on the clock.
See, we knew it would happen here. At least at the very least, you know, making those swaps over to try and get a solid play here. We're still seeing Mighty Peon on the Widow here, trying at least to duel it out with Sinatra here. So that's going to be a little bit interesting.
And has been decently successful, must I say.
True. I will admit that.
Ooh, that chatter's gonna follow up with the Dragons, but honestly not needed because Primo's Hammer did all the work right there. Base boosted, gonna get taken out by Sinatra as Stealth follows up onto Xerox. That is going to be a hold of this objective. 1 minute, 45 seconds on the clock. They've got to be able to touch. They've got to hold it to under the minute mark in order to be able to keep things going. Shatter! Coming in from base boosted, ends up cleaning up both Big Old Guy and Primo. Sinatra able to pick off Mighty Peon, now swapping over to the Tracer, but base boosted takes down AYAYA Koalas in return with that Fire Strike. That's going to allow them to hold on to this payload, and if they want to set things up in a good position, Eclipse has to grab this objective in 15 seconds.
Which is going to be a bit difficult, to say the least.
And I don't think it's going to happen, which means we are going to see AYAYA get another chance at succeeding right here, because they're going to get an additional minute on the clock, which is just going to add to the time bank that we're going to see for Eclipse, and that's if they even get this. Ooh, that was ill-timed, unfortunately. Very ill-timed gravitic flux right there. Did not manage to get
that blizzard.
That blizzard also was just very, very barely off. Ended up getting caught on the high ground right there, but it looks like Primos and Sinatra are like, you can take your ultimates. We're still going to kill you anyway. And they will be successful. 1 minute 22 on the clock. Another minute added to the clock of AYAYA. And this battle is far from over, folks.
You know, usually people complain about the 2 CPs being the long maps. Honestly, it's the hybrid maps. It's genuinely the hybrid maps. At least from my experience.
I feel like, I don't know, to be completely honest with you. Like, I feel like every map has their benefit and their downfall, and even, well, I should say every map category has its benefit and its downfall. But then you also look at the different maps and you see it very similarly. Like, Eichenwald, I feel, is a relatively balanced map. Like, you do have the singular, the dual choke right there, which can be pretty well held for the most part. But then you have maps like Blizzard World, where it's just like absolute chaos, and the attackers have every way to get into the objective, except for the fact that it's just like really, really far for them to go.
Except for the fact that it's just far.
Yeah, but that does take a toll on the time, whereas like a choke, like you waste the time battling it out at the choke. So it's kind of a different setup in the map, if you will. So I don't know. Like, every map has its pluses and minuses. Some people like them.
I've just seen that the escort maps tend to be the ones that are, like, not the escort, but the hybrid maps are the ones that are the worst to work with.
They're definitely interesting, that's for sure, but very few maps give you this extra opportunity that the hybrid is right now. Both Sinatra and Lyrule end up taking down each other's immortality. Not a single one to fall just yet, despite the fact that AYAYA has been trying very, very hard. Here comes the Amp Matrix already out for Obi-Wan, keeping everyone up. That Maywall is going to end up deleting some of the damage that could have been done. As we see the tackle coming out, doesn't end up landing the shot. Now tackle coming out from base boost, or from Primos. Ends up getting taken out by Alec Wall as a Sinatra, now playing in similar Sinatra style, gets the double, and Xerox not able to touch the objective by fighting the stealth RTG. There is no way to get to that objective. The entire minute, unfortunately, is wasted, and now we are going to see if we will end up getting a tie or a victory from the side of Eclipse.
If we get a tie today, right now, right here, right now, in this minute 22, there is no map 5.
What do you mean?
If we get a tie, there is no map 5.
Good point. I didn't think about it that way, because it's best of 3. It's best of 4, not first of 3.
Correct. It's considered. Well, technically, it's considered best of 5.
Is it?
Technically, that's what it says on the stream.
Oh, that's weird. It should be best of 4, because it's whoever gets the best of 4 maps, and then if you tie, you go to the map 5. So the map 5 is never guaranteed.
That's fair.
I don't know. We have talks like this all the time over at the Rose Cup when we're making the rules. It's just like, what is it? And we're like, we don't freaking know. Like, we know what it's supposed to look like. Whatever you call it, like, you can call it spaghetti for all we care, but that's like, that doesn't change what you have to do. You still have to play 4 maps regardless of what happens, and you go to the 5th map if you get a tie. That's
That's
it.
true. That's true.
Like, that's all it is. Best of 4, first to 3, best of 5, whatever it is. Who knows at this point? But
I think it's technically a best of 4, but like I don't know.
I literally, you could be right. I could be right. Spaghetti could be right. Everybody's right. I'm just gonna put that out there. Everybody's right at this point. But we've got a pause on the field. Did we end up? Oh, we had a DC for the side of Eclipse. All right, so it looks like we are ready to go again, though. So let's go ahead and see what's going to be coming out for either side. Can't say that I'm surprised, except for Xerox's pick.
Hold up. We got Bagel Guy on Diva.
Why is that surprising? They came out on.
We've been seeing him play like a Sigma, and we've been seeing him play.
I was about ready to say, did you not pay attention to the first part of their attack, where Bagel Guy was on Diva, like until he switched to Sigma? Like you're the analysis person here. Like you're supposed to know that.
hey! I just say what's right in front of my face, and I didn't see a Diva, so.
You didn't see a Diva? I'll give it to you, fam. But Bagel Guy is going to end up swapping over to that AM and get some damage into the backline. The questionable pick, I feel, is Xerox coming in on the Pharah, especially with how deadly Sinatra has been. We're going to see how well Sinatra is at that hit scan, and right now Mighty Peon is coming out on top, ends up picking off Sinatra early in the fight, as Primo's able to take down base boosted with the Fire Strike, but Xerox taking down I Like Koalas. In return, there's only one tick to be had. They can hold on to it, but Primos ends up falling to Mighty Peon and Matrix coming out right now. Gonna end up getting the healing onto the objective. Bagel Guy still spinning to win, but Obi-Wan is gonna end up taking that out. 30 seconds on the clock. Unfortunately, what we ended up seeing from AYAYA is not gonna happen here, because Eclipse will get a second chance to take this objective.
A second chance?
A second chance, because they
so like a fourth chance?
Well, they get two attacks by the one attack we saw from AYAYA in that minute. Beat Drop is going to come out to solidify that. Minefield, Dragon Strike, and Shatter. It's a battle of the Qs right now. Here comes out the Barrage, looking to get somebody.
Oh no, they C9'd.
No, they didn't C9. They just, like, forgot that there was an objective.
No one was on the point. They were all chasing kills.
Yes, but...
That's a C9.
No
real, I thought... See, I always get confused of the definition of a C9, because I always thought that it was... That they almost willingly go off the objective.
It's because, well, what happened was, like, Cloud9 was chasing kills and forgot about the objective.
Oh, so that's the okay.
That's why it was coined.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, it was a C9, and that's unfortunate because that means it all comes down to the escort.
That means
and
it
I'm
comes
not
down.
talking about the one that you hire from a phone call for $90 a minute or something like that. I wouldn't know.
So you know what happens?
We got one map left.
We move over to Dorado.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say though, like Mighty's POTG better be in one of the upcoming Elfie, because that was spicy.
I hope
that was freaking spicy there, Mighty. Great job on those pops right there, and that's why we ended up. I feel like that's why we ended up seeing Mighty on just objective number 2. Like we saw Mighty on Widow at the beginning of objective 3, but we ended up seeing the swap over there at the end. But definitely on objective 2 for that map, it's such a wide open space, and Mighty just despite the fact that they were on the low ground, that entire shot that we saw in the play of the game just was able to pop, because despite the fact that Sinatra knew where Mighty was, Sinatra ended up getting picked off first, and I don't think anybody communicated that Mighty was there. So it was just duck hunting season. Pop, 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 quack, quack. You saw the dog in the background laughing and grabbing ducks. Like it was like good old Nintendo days.
Where did Bagel go?
I don't know. I was more tilting my head at what Elfie said in the chat that said that's not what happens, El. And I'm not for certain what she's commenting on.
I was watching them. I was watching them all chase kills.
Yeah, I mean he's right, Elfie. If you're talking about the C9, that's what happened. So maybe she say C9 is when attackers forget about the objective. A back cap is when the defenders forget. Oh, yeah, that's what we said.
No, a C9. Yeah, because you know why the attackers forget about the objective?
Attacker.
Because they're chasing kills. That's literally what happened in the C9 game. I watched it happen.
Oh, goodness. All right, folks, this is a video game probably in the Urban Dictionary. I will take one moment to go ahead and look it up just so that we're absolutely sure of what the story is. Urban Dictionary. There we go. See, it's even in
Urban Dictionary?
Yeah.
Oof.
All right, C9, top definition. A term is given to a team who leaves the point/payload in a competitive game of Overwatch, resulting in the other team to win by default. The term originates from the pro team Cloud9 that accidentally stopped contesting the point for several rounds versus Afrika Freaks Blue in Season 2 Apex. This incident, Apex?
Yeah, this is back.
I'm guessing more the name, not the
Apex,
game Apex.
Yeah, no. Apex is the like the main esports. Like that's why you also have like Apex season in like CS and stuff like that. That was before the OWL was a thing.
Alrighty, this incident happened for the very first time on Lijiang Tower. Cloud9 won the fight in overtime, but simply did not contest the objective and therefore gave their opponents a free win. A true C9 is when the point or payload is left in overtime in a winnable round. Winnable being the key word, and I gotta be honest, winnable. But was it? There was a lot of cues coming down there. It was in their favor at the moment the C9 was happening. Yeah, I will agree with that.
I would say it's winnable, and therefore it was a C9.
Yep, I can concur with that. Urban Dictionary concurs with us, and if you don't agree, well, then that's your opinion. You can say what you want. There's really not a lot that I can say with that. So Dorado is going to be our final map of the evening. I do want to remind you before we go there, hit that heart and bell, man. Hit those hearts and bells.
Unless they somehow manage to tie Dorado. I don't know.
No, that is like those percentages you were giving off earlier. This is like an almost 0% chance. Like there are very few places that they can actually tie this up. It's either going to be at the door that goes out of Objective 1 into Objective 2, and they completely hold them there, which is almost impossible because of where the spawn is, or it has to be between Objective 2 and 3, where the door is there, and they have to stop it before it goes through the door. So, yeah.
It's extremely unlikely, but it's possible.
I can't give you this one, buddy. I really can't. Like, this would be, like, I don't think I've ever heard of this actually happening in an official game of Overwatch anywhere, despite the fact that the odds exist. So just because of the way that the maps are built, like you can't, like as defenders, if you fight on Objective 2 before they get to the doors of Objective 3, you cannot stop them from going through those doors. You don't have enough time to respawn and go back, similar to what we would see on an assault map. Even the same thing we'd see here, like even if you could stall them at these doors on Objective number 1, their spawn is literally right there. Like you would have to spawn camp them after they took Objective number 1 in order to at any point get a tie between
just spawn
both
camp
teams.
Forehead.
Yeah, because spawn camping is so easy. Right?
Just spawn camp them, forehead.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Like if this was Call of Duty, maybe that'd be a different story. But like, very few spawn camps in Overwatch honestly work. So I would be incredibly surprised. You know. Nevertheless, despite all of our bickering like an old married couple, we're gonna see Eggers come back out. And we're going to see, again, this weird composition that I don't understand. Rhine Hog. What?
I don't know what's going on.
That is the two combos that I've continually seen in my comp games as a Platinum. I've seen Rhine Hog, and I've seen Rhine Ball. And neither of them make any sense to me. But again, I will be quoted wrong once again. It's working for some reason.
According to my lovely teammate Brick, never underestimate the powers of a 2 off-tank comp. So
Wait,
I don't know, man.
But it's not 2 off tanks.
I
That
mean,
doesn't make it.
well, right now Winston's basically an off-tank.
Oh, well, the swap to Winston's weird, but I was talking about the Rhine Ball or Rhine Hog. Like, Ball and Hog are both still off tanks. That's just not typically what you see with. And why do I feel like we're being trolled right now?
I don't know, honestly. Like,
This is. I'm having a hard time casting this because there's a lot of odd going on here.
yeah.
And I don't know if there was like an agreement made between the teams in quiet
Just
Discord,
like Meme Lord or something.
and they're gonna
like,
meme lord this into an actual tie, and they're just gonna be like, "Oh look, see, we made Captain Jack get it wrong," and I'm gonna feel like a total with that because I'll be like, "Wow, they made it happen." Cool.
They somehow did it. We're going to map 5, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Because that's totally something we would do here. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of things that we've done here at OCCS, and I can see it happening, but oh, baby. Sinatra with that double blossom in the back line gonna end up cleaning up a little bit. I think that Blizzard's going to end up solidifying them getting objective number 1, though. Pika coming out with the rally. Okay, here's the first chance. It's got to stay at 0 meters.
They got
very unlikely.
Gotta stay at that 0 meter.
Yep.
And
there it goes. You see, they can't get, if they die, right? Like, see, that fight actually happened really early, too. Like, that happened at the choke. And they still couldn't get back in time. So that was that's really odd right there. Oh, I see
yes, you see now.
I see it now. Ooh! Sinatra deciding to put on the heels, gonna take over the Widow and end up going into this oof battle with Mighty Peon, currently winning it out with the double kill right there. As Bagel Guy able to take down Dank Monkey, they're going to go ahead and hold at the 41 meter mark with 3 minutes on the clock.
Why is there Widow on the low ground? I'm confused.
I mean,
Widow, why you on low ground?
I mean, Mighty did get a quad on low ground.
Shh.
Strategic advantage, forehead. See, high ground. See, just like Anakin, you know, totally
It's
took
over.
out
I have the high
Obi-Wan. Now has the high ground advantage. Bongo's already coming out for Lyrule as they move into objective number 2. Another place we could end up seeing a tie right here. Blizzard ends up coming out as Mighty Peon picks off Sinatra, tying the oof battle to 1-1 as Lyrule following up on Brimos inside that Blizzard. That's going to be objective number 2, captured with 3 minutes 35 seconds on the clock, and here comes that second one.
All right, hold up.
Done up 16.65 meters, in case
Can't
you
go
were
any
all
further
wondering.
than that. Oh, never
Nope.
mind.
Too late. See,
Too late.
the second door moves very much
It
quicker.
moves very fast. Yes, it does.
Yes. Because it's like so far, like they've already traveled 20 meters. Like, it's different.
What is going on here? Both
With
of their
what?
healers were in the back?
I don't know. I really don't know what's going on here.
They're
I
just
really
meme
feel
lording us.
I feel like they are, and I don't know how to feel about that.
They're just meme lording us right now.
I honestly feel like they are, because this is like, despite what we've been seeing all night, this is not. Like, we haven't been seeing this from Eclipse, so this is odd to me, and I don't really know how to react to that. But I guess we'll just continue casting like nothing's changed. And Sinatra now coming in as the Doomfist stealth is on that Hanzo, coming in with the dragons, gets the double kill right there as we see the tackle coming in, stealthed with the quad after those dragons, and Sinatra able to pick off Mighty Peon there at the end. 2 minutes 15 seconds on the clock as they go ahead and hold the payload at 72 meters.
They're gonna hold the payload? What?
I mean, that's
they're holding the payload. They gave up so much space there. Like they practically took the second point for free.
I agree. It's definitely been an odd defense for the side of Eclipse. I'm not exactly for certain why, but definitely has been odd. And we're going to see a very smart strategy from Xerox going into the backline, using the wall to get over that glass barrier to be able to put down the Blizzard in the back. Base boosted, ends up getting the double right there as they move their payload into objective number 3, only with a minute and a half left on the clock. 2 meters left to go as Mighty Peon coming in on the McCree ends up taking down Stealth. Shatter coming out from Brimos ends up getting the double as they go ahead and clean up. Amp Matrix currently on the high ground, though, as everybody trying to hide behind the payload is going to be unsuccessful, unfortunately. Bongos end up coming out. Sinatra, the only one left on the objective, as Stealth ends up getting taken down by Mighty Peon again. Mighty was holding that spawn door for almost a good minute as McCree.
Do it anyways.
I guess.
Just do it.
I guess. I feel like we got a regular Shia LaBeouf situation going on here, because I wasn't paying attention to it, but that's exactly what my Peon did, getting like 2 or 3 kills every time they came out of spawn, and nobody did anything about it. So yeah,
he's a hit scan boy. That's
pretty popping off for a hit scan boy at the choke, or at the spawn door of the defender. Like that's pretty popping right there. Like, you're definitely popping heads right there. And looking in the chat, I don't even know what they're talking about at this point.
Click heads forehead.
Yeah, just click heads forehead, I guess. So apparently we're going into the analysis of what a main tank is. So let me break it down for you. A main tank focuses on protecting the team. Off tanks provide utility openings for the team. I don't know if that's true, because as a main tank, I love cracking skulls with my freaking giant Reinhardt axe.
Giant Reinhardt hammer.
Yeah. Well, see, no, I like to wear the what is it? The Blackheart skin.
That's
like
fair.
That's like all demony with the big golden axe, because you bet I've got a golden gun for Reinhardt. So I got a big old golden axe to put in those foreheads. And then it's just a continued discussion. So Zarya is a main tank. It depends. Zarya and Sigma are both flex tanks, because Zarya doesn't have a team barrier but can bubble various people that can provide protection for whoever's in danger, as similar to Sigma, who can provide a barrier for the team but is positional, and can be relatively quickly moved. So interesting to see all these analyses going on in the chat. Mighty Peon, though, getting a pick onto Brimos and Sinatra as they move through the choke, as Lyrule ends up taking down Bagel Guy after a very odd tackle. It looks like we actually are seeing a very traditional composition. Wait, what?
Wait, what?
I'm done. You can take it from here. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
Bro, that's just
I was like,
absurd.
they're running a basic composition, and then they have to go and fudge it all up. And now we're seeing the Shimada Bros with the double barrier. And, like, we saw that, like, I don't know. Well, I guess there aren't as many counters this time around. There's still quite a few. And Sinatra is still being clicked. So, I don't... Oh, man. This is rough to watch. I'm not for certain what we're seeing here. Other AYAYA just absolutely taking advantage of the... What? Mighty spawn camping as Widow now. Clicking both Pika and Stealth as they come out of spawn. Like it's no big deal.
Just
So they're
no big
already-
deal. Just click heads.
I mean, that's literally what Mighty Peon is doing as Xerox ends up taking down Eggers in the backline. Nobody is dealing with these snipers right now, and it's becoming a huge issue. Gravitic Flux able to take up Primos, and down they go as Mighty Peon, Lyrule, and Obi-Wan will get picks. Xerox following up with that final on Sinatra, and with only a minute and a half left on the clock, like something has
What's
got to
going
happen
on?
here.
Yeah.
Like,
Mighty's just over here clicking heads.
which is great. Like Mighty's great at clicking heads, but like what's going on with Eclipse right now? It's just like somebody, went into their team composition strategy or whatnot and just like scrambled it like a bunch of eggs. Or like that immortality field, very odd usage right there. Although it ended up keeping up Pika for a little bit right there, it was like they were fighting 1v3 on the high ground. Like this is just so weird. I feel like somebody's getting paid off. This is just, or maybe we're just seeing AYAYA take advantage of maybe really bad plays that happened earlier in the season from Eclipse. I mean,
who knows, man?
I mean, that
it's
could.
just insane.
Like, do we have any fills for the team this evening?
On Eclipse or AYAYA?
Either side.
I don't think so.
So that makes this even more odd because there shouldn't be this much of a difference. Because we're seeing this in a difference of games. And now that we're down to 5 minutes on the clock, it's just so odd. And now Base Boost is going to suck up Sinatra's Blizzard. Overtime's going to tick away, although I don't know how because nobody was really near the objective. And despite using Transcendence, AYAYA is going to win and take this series. So, huzzah AYAYA, I guess. That was...
I guess.
That was just... It was so strange to me. And you know what? It may be that Eclipse isn't good on these maps.
I just don't think they're going the way that they want to right now.
It just seems so odd that despite doing so competitively on what we saw for Eichenwald, that on Dorado it almost seems like they just keeled over and laid down.
They just kind of accepted it, I guess.
Yeah, like it's just so, I don't know. It just seems off. It just seems completely off. I don't know why.
It's not the Eclipse that we've seen today.
No, definitely not. So Eclipse, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened, or maybe since I haven't been watching you since the beginning of the season, maybe it is the map type you need to work on. And knowing that it's the final map in a series of 4, you probably should start working on those escort maps. They aren't that much different from hybrids, so I'm having a hard time realizing why things went awry there. But I believe in you. I think you can bring it back. But congratulations, AYAYA, bottom seed right now in the standings. Gonna go ahead and take away another victory this evening. Gonna bring them up to 2-4 for the season. And if things keep going the way that it seems to be going for AYAYA, they're gonna end up taking that number 2 seed from Salt.
It depends because was this the last game? Hold up. I'm actually going to check.
Ah, that's right. I forgot. We're getting
we're
close to
nearing
the
the end of our
playoffs, aren't
season.
we?
Yeah, we're
That's
nearing the end of
right.
our season. So let's see here. What is the date today? The 20th?
Yes.
So there are actually no more games for AYAYA.
Oh. Well, disregard everything I said, but the playoffs definitely showing that they can be a lot different than what the standings have currently been showing. So I'll definitely be interested to see what ends up going down in the Blackwatch division. But for now, we got some players of the match to go ahead and crown. So Zella, why don't you go ahead and give me yours to start us off?
Oh, it's so hard to do this with like no one in here. I've got
You've been watching them all night. You don't remember.
No, I never remember anyone's names. Their names are all right in front of me.
I have
Like,
a hard time too.
Yeah.
I'm just
Like,
giving you crap. I have a
their
hard time
names
too.
are right in front of me. Like, I don't have to remember their names. But honestly, I think I have to give it to Mighty Peon. We saw him just dominate on that Widow, even like with no regard for the double sniper whatsoever. They just didn't care.
See, I feel like I'm gonna have to give some heel loves to Obi-Wan, to be completely honest with you, because despite the fact that Obi-Wan was doing incredible on that Baptiste throughout the entire night, the good thing about being a Baptiste player is that, similar to being a Zenyatta player, you have to be both offensive and defensive. In the fact that you have to be healing and doing damage at the same time. Like there are very few healers that can really get away with doing that in a very even pace. Like your Moiras or your Zenyatas can usually pull that off, but a Batiste takes a certain amount of skill. It's almost like you're putting Soldier 76 into more of a healing role than you are as a DPS role. But Obi-Wan was pulling that off incredibly nicely, doing a huge amount of heals for their team as well as getting picks or at least doing damage for their teams. Looking in the chat right now, it looks like both Eric and Mighty Peon are giving some love to Mighty for their MVP of the night, as well as PC who Pichu. Is it Pichu?
That's Pachu.
That's Pachu. So it's not like cute Pichu. It's like Pachu Gazoo Gotcha. All right. And it looks like Nova, our producer tonight, is giving some love to Obi-Wan as well as Mighty Peon as well on that, doing that sniper stuff. Looks like a lot of love for Mighty, and I gotta agree, it was a battle between Mighty and Sinatra a majority of this evening, and unfortunately or fortunately, depending on whose side you're on, Mighty ended up carrying it there at the end. So good job to you all for that one.
I think that's going to take us to the end of our program today.
Yes, that is. So while we go ahead and look up the rest of the schedule for the week, you all should definitely be hitting that bell and hitting that heart button so that y'all know when we're going to be online for the rest of the week. As we're going into the playoffs, I'm not for certain how much the schedule is going to end up changing, but it definitely could be showing to be a little bit different in the upcoming weeks. And as let's see, January 2020, we're on the 20th. For the 22nd, we've got Horn Beasts versus Zenkai coming in on Wednesday. One Tricks versus Stealth Bombers on Thursday. And for Saturday, we've got Monarch versus Breakers. And it looks like we'll be getting into the final matches of this season coming into the last week of January to start off February with the with one final match between Frost and One Tricks, and then February is all about the playoffs. So definitely a lot of great action to see here at OCCS. So if you haven't hit that heart and hit that bell or push that subscribe button, like you're gonna be missing out. I'm sorry. You're just going to be missing out on all this awesome Overwatch action. And I'm going to feel a little sad for you. So you should probably do that. But anyways, I want to give a special thank you to Nova Vixen for doing our producing tonight. Incredible job as always. And just love to you all there in the chat for helping keeping us company this evening. Got up to about, I think, 30 this evening. So that's pretty pro. Good job, everybody. But until next time, I'm Captain Jack.
And I guess I've been Zell.
Sorry, I'm used to people that are used to me doing that.
You know
Yes,
what?
you are Zella.
Yes, I am Zell. I am.
You are. I confirm that you are Zella. And we will
Am
see
I?
you all.
Am I really though?
You are. I believe in you. We'll see you all next time, folks.
Bye bye.